Hey! Hail, hail, the Celts are here, and what the hell do we care now? We're having a party in the Champions League. I found that video back in the old archive, and I thought I actually, that's the unedited, I actually edited it down, so it was just straight into the Zombie Nation bit, just everyone going nuts and stuff like that. But that was when we appointed Brendan first time around, and I thought, hey, I'll slap that out there in lieu of a proper intro coming for the Sorare CSC, the Celtic Supporters Club here on the Celts are here. I am Quinny, and I'm joined as always by McBride Ace. McBride, good to see you, mate. Hail, hail.
Hail, hail. Friday night. We've got a beer in hand and we've got a Zombie Nation on. I tell you what, that makes me feel happy, but there we go. That's a beauty. I don't think I've seen that before, actually. So when you said that, like 38,000 views or something on YouTube. So by tomorrow morning, it'll be 38,001. I'll need to go and watch the actual video, but that's class. Love it.
Aye. It's I've seen McBride. That's the top viewed video on my channel. It's just the proper Zombie Nation going off, which is great. I've actually got a lot of like Celtic, like proper fan footage, like before making a YouTube channel and stuff like that. When like just generally in life, obviously McBride, you deal with me behind the camera, as it were. Like my memory does fail me. Sometimes I've not got the best memory in the world. And I used to, you know, when I go to games anyway, I was always loving just to get a wee video or something like that for like keepsake, for memories, especially when it comes to European football, because at Celtic Park, there's always the chance of history being made. And so often in my kind of formative years, you know, growing up and stuff like that, going to Parkhead for Champions League group stage action meant one thing and one thing only, and that was you don't write Celtic off against absolutely anyone. And obviously Bratislava, nobody had us written off for this one, but it's that magic, the tune coming on, under the floodlights, the nighttime sky, everything. And we're here tonight off the back of our first victory in the opening game, which is fantastic, and a 5-1 victory at that. So it's proper party season. Everyone's in good spirits and good mood. We've got a lovely kind of game at the weekend, which will be a good test of the squad and everything else. We'll talk about that today as well. But didn't that just, you know, see that feeling, McBride, the next day or even as full time goes in? It's been a while since we've had that feeling, isn't it? Post match.
I was unbelievable. I just thought the whole tone of the thing, like you were saying there, like maybe you were talking about how you usually have like walk on and you can't do that because the Champions League music, but the noise was absolutely unbelievable. And I never got a ticket for it. Unfortunately, it's quite hard to get tickets at the moment. So anyway, I was watching it on the TV, and you're going down the sort of line, and it's the away players, and you can see some of them are like, what the fuck's going on here? And then like you came to like Kasper Schmeichel, and he looked like some sort of kid in a playground who's like, this is amazing. And like Alistair Johnson's just standing like, this is my house, and yous are all getting battered type. It was brilliant. And like that's the way we come out, and we just absolutely bossed it. It was a brilliant night, unbelievable. Played some great stuff, and we could have scored 8 or 9 goals. Let's be honest. Like we could easily have scored more goals. It was an absolute battering.
Yeah, it was 5 going on 7 or 8 probably on big chances missed, certainly anyway.
Yeah.
There was a few of them left on the table, but you know the most emphatic thing about it for me, or the thing that makes me so excited about it, is that, you know, we've had a lot of match day one good performances, and you know, over the years, not just over the last 2. You know, we had Real Madrid and obviously we had Feyenoord, but like even just throughout the last 15, 20 years, whatever you want to think of. But it's never quite, it's been like a draw, or maybe, you know, obviously it's not been a victory. It's the first time we've won on match day 1. And normally we're going into the second game with a bit of that, oh, but we did good, you know, and like, oh, maybe the squad will be a wee bit better. But this is like, and it's a game where, you know, if you had your fixture list in front of you, the first thing you would want is Bratislava at home, first game. You would pick that, you know, to set the tone, to boost a bit of confidence, to get some sort of foothold going. And me and you were looking at this before coming on, and Brendan, what a line he came out with. If the Champions League ended tomorrow, it would be us versus Bayern in the final. Absolutely love that.
Man, he's some man.
And it makes great reading at the moment, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I just a wee word for the format as well. Like I wasn't really like overall sure about it, if you know what I mean. So you were used to the groups, and you get through your own group and all that type of stuff. What I really like about it is obviously there's been a big showcase this week, because Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday have all been Champions League games. So it's been nothing else. It's just this is a Champions League week. And then the other thing as well is that you're looking at games last night or whatever and saying, okay, we might not play against that team or whatever, but you're still in the same league table against them. So there's a general sort of interest in all the different games as well. So I think, like, honestly, a lot of people were a wee bit critical of it, but I think it's a good move, to be honest. There's more games which a lot of the big name players are having a wee moan about because they're getting overworked and blah 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 and all that nonsense. Like guys like Rodri earning gazillions of pounds and moaning because they're playing too many games. He didn't even start the season. He got left out. He got rested. It's just a load of rubbish. So anyway, but the expanded format looks like a lot of fun. So we'll see how it plays out. But such an important start as well. Loads of prize money coming in there. Like I think it was 1.9 million euros or something like that for the win and the goals and everything. Just absolutely brilliant. So you couldn't ask for any more than to be up there right at the top of the table. Love it.
Aye. Flying high and keep them going. And yeah, that is an interesting part of the format because I watched Aston Villa on the Tuesday night. They played Young Boys. And, we are going to play Young Boys. So it was a game that, obviously, and we're playing Villa, as well.
That's
but also, on my main channel, I cover Villa a little bit from time to time. So I'm always interested in how they're getting on. We all love John McGinn as well. I think that's universal at this stage in Scotland. So you can watch, like, as a neutral or just as like not even as a neutral, but like as a Celtic fan, like exclusively Celtic, because Celtic is one of these clubs where so many of the fans, the only thing they watch is like Celtic or Scottish football's like 95% of what they take in. Maybe a bit of match of the day, maybe the big game at the weekend in the pub or whatever once in a while. But if you are going to tune into a wee bit of Champions League midweek, there's like you could watch like two teams like Villa versus Young Boys that we'll play later on, and it gives you a wee inclination of what we're going to be up against and where we're at overall. I also a wee kind of shameless plug, McBride. I don't know if you've seen it, but last Friday I released a video and I predicted the entire group stage. So I found this website that would allow you to put in every scoreline of every match. And you can calculate it. So I kind of done it after every match day to see if, and I took screenshots to see if it kind of looked cool or whatever, but it was a bit messy. Anyway, the only things I gave us that were like borderline, like up for discussion, let's say, on the face of squad strength and probability or whatever, was a draw at home to Leipzig. I thought that's maybe 2-2, and away to Villa on the last day of the thing. And the way it would sit is us and Villa, the way I had it projected anyway, are probably, if things go the way they should, coming into the last match day, we'll probably both be in semi-party mode because the bubble, someone said, I think we spoke about it 2 weeks ago or maybe a bit longer, but it's going to be like 7 or 8 points is going to be the line to get knocked out or stay in. And we could be going into that last match with like 12, potentially, depending on how things shake out. Anyway, draw against Villa away, draw at Leipzig at home are the only two questionable things. And I had us on, like 14 points or something like that in 12th, cruising high and a decent seeding. So, we don't want to get ahead of ourselves after beating Bratislava, but it's a whole different format.
You said you've got us in like 14 points.
But there's still good matches to go. I had us winning this game 3 or 4-0. I think, when you're just typing it in, you're thinking, right, we should scud them or that should be a draw or whatever. So 5-1, we've overperformed, I would say, like previous, like just conservative, like it's Celtic, don't get carried away. If we do batter someday, it's maybe 3-0 just because it's Champions League or whatever. But, the best start possible. And with this whole new format, like anything is possible, we could hang on to that top 8. It's not out of the question.
I honestly, well, goal difference could come into it as well. I mean, you might get to a scenario where maybe you stumble a bit as well, and you're right on the line there, and scoring 5 goals in a games could be quite important. I mean, so it's analysis wise, like we'll get Dortmund away in the next game, right? And there's no doubt in Dortmund we're in the Champions League final, and they're a right good team and things. But what I really like about this team just now, and I think what we've lacked a lot when we've been playing away, is a lot of our away performance has been really poor. So Atletico Madrid, and with other games, even though last season we started quite well against Feyenoord, we capitulated and all that type of thing. But see, when you see us at the moment, see when we get the ball at the back and we start to move the ball upfield, the ball is at the forwards in like 10 seconds. And I don't really recall seeing that with Celtic because we've done a lot of that possession football and how we're trying to move it quick and all that. But see now, watching that front three and watching how we move the ball out for the back from Schmeichel, it's just for me is different. And I think that I don't want to be going too bold, but I think we'll cause a lot of problems away from home as well. Because I think that when teams come on to us and you've got Kuhn, Maeda, and Furuhashi running at them, I'll tell you what, honestly, like it will come down to things like finishing, because you'll not get as many chances away from home. But I think that we're capable of causing issues, and I think that maybe we'll sneak some points in those away games as well. Everybody will write us off, think we'll get bashed up and everything. Oh, it was only Bratislava we beat and everything. But the way we're playing with the pressing and everything, honestly, I do think that we could maybe get some draws or good results away from home as well. And it's great. It's just dead exciting football to see us play. Like, I just thought it was brilliant.
That was my wee predicted table. 13th it was. I had us in.
Well, we'd probably take that, to be fair. We would take that. Brendan came out and said, look, we want to have a real go at it and everything. And I think we need to sort of, in a way, lose this inferiority complex in Champions League. I've said this a few times as well. There's a lot of teams that don't have good Champions League away records. So making the home park, the fortress, is really key, because there's hardly anybody wins loads of games away from home in Champions League. It's the top level. So if we could sneak a point here or there, then it's kind of one against the field, if that makes sense, I think, as an overall thing. And there's,
agreed,
far weaker teams in the competition, like, as far as we can see now. Even Dynamo Zagreb, for example, right? They lost 9-2 to Bayern Munich. They sacked our manager, but before that, they were on a run of like 25 games where they were unbeaten or whatever. So they're in the sort of no mugs category. So you can't say, well, Bayern Munich beat them 9-2 and we'll go over there and we'll get a result in Croatia. You'll need to really turn up over there. Things can change really quickly. So all the away games, I think, will all be quite tough. And Aston Villa were brilliant against Young Boys as well. I mean, they're a well-oiled EPL team with a really good manager who's got a brilliant record in Europe. So, it might not look like as hard as some of the other fixtures you get, but they're really tough games. So if you can get those results, you can keep putting in those results at home, that will stand us in good stead for this format. For any format in the Champions League, but it will really stand us in good stead, I think.
Yeah. I'd say, that's just one of the best things about it, is winning as we did. Like, I did a breakdown on the channel for it already, like in terms of match ratings and main takeaways that I felt from the match and all the rest of it. But a big part of it, like you said, not everyone's got great away records, and a lot of the teams that in our fixture list that you're expecting or you would hope we would be getting the points from don't necessarily have the depth of squad that we have or the quality of squads. Again, me and you were talking before coming on. Maybe this week we see some key rotations, but like even if there is like proper key rotations, like Vickers for Trusty, Palma for Maeda, I don't know, Home for somebody, McKeown starts, these kind of things, then that's still like a team that would probably still beat Bratislava. You know what I mean? Like, maybe Zagreb will be a bit different, I'll give you that, but I do think Zagreb are, normally really bad in the Champions League anyway. So although we kind of have a wee bit of a thing for understanding Croatian football a bit better and all the rest of it, Champions League wise, like they've always been like cannon fodder, I think, So hopefully we can treat them like that. But like you say, when it's away from home, it's definitely a different animal.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't know about against Bratislava, because I think that maybe we don't get the credit we deserve for how well we played as well. Look at Maeda, right? And he got his goal, which was brilliant. But the way he plays against teams in those games is just phenomenal. I've seen like a wee montage, and it was like, guy got the ball and Maeda's at the edge of the box, and he's made up like 20 yards on him, and he's won the ball against him and everything. And the guy, he's like the Duracell bunny, and he's mad, but he just brings that sort of energy to the team. And obviously, if you start bringing in guys like Palma, okay, he played well in Champions League last season, but he's not really firing at the moment, if you know what I mean. Again, just that front three, like Nicholas Kuhn's come on to a right good game at the moment as well, but it's not just a case of he's playing well every game at the moment. He had some sort of moments or whatever like last season, but it was only real moments. But now he's actually putting in performances where he's looking dangerous all the time. It can still be a wee bit frustrating sometimes, but the chances he's creating, the goals and assists he's getting are amazing. So yeah, and we're not even mentioning him yet, but how good is Arne Engels? I mean, that's like seriously,
He
like
looked absolutely brilliant, didn't he?
I'm like, honestly, I just like you need to be careful we don't get carried away in things, but like we didn't look as if we missed Matt O'Reilly in that game, which is a huge compliment, obviously, to Engels.
Oh no, I would definitely echo that. That you didn't feel that we just lost our key player for 30 million or whatever it was. But I think the thing that I was really excited about seeing with Engels in this one was that like, when we got O'Reilly in at a kind of similar age, like he couldn't have done that after 2 weeks. You know what I mean? We couldn't put him into that sort of match and got that kind of level. So, you know, it's even just for me the excitement of seeing him in the fullness of time. You know, fast forward 2 seasons on from where we're at, like he's already not maybe depends on how you think of the levels and what you think is important for the midfielder to have in Celtic at the moment, all the rest of it. But let's just pretend for a minute that he is technically behind him, and I'll just say him because people gave me trouble for saying his name too much in the video. Mr. O'Reilly. Then the progression he'll have over the next season and a half, 2 seasons, even in the next 6 months, just being in this total winners environment. You know, when I think about this type of thing, it's always like why I like seeing us buy players from like dominant clubs, wherever we're getting them from, or big clubs traditionally. Because like, it's one thing that I always remember when I was younger when Gordon Strachan became the manager, and it was after the Bratislava game. And, you know, I can't remember when the quote came out, but he said something after like a run of performances changing for the better or for the worse or whatever. And he said that was the first like job like he had where it was like the objective is winning. Whereas everybody else, Coventry, Southampton, wherever he'd been before, the first objective is not losing, you know.
Mm.
And then after that, it's can you win the game or can you do something or can you? Whereas with us, it's the absolute opposite. So for a guy like this, who similar to O'Reilly and almost everyone else that does come to us, to come from Augsburg, who I've heard a lot of Celtic fans describe them as a mid-table club. I think that's a bit ambitious. Like definitely like relegation strugglers for the last couple of years. You know, they've been bottom end team. And he's come in here as a defensive-ish player. You know, like no one ever said he was going to be an out-and-out attacking force. And I don't think he's been that for us, but he's definitely shown he's got the strings in his bow to pull it off. Then, like, yeah, man, I heard people comparing him to De Bruyne. I've heard people comparing him to there's another one that caught my eye as well. Maybe just the price value of like 40 million and stuff like that. But he's not too far off being somebody that you could get mad excited about really quickly. But doing this against Bratislava in terms of value in a Celtic shirt, it's not really too different to doing it against Motherwell, to be quite honest, is it? In some ways.
I don't know. I can see your point there because obviously it was a fixture where we were the bookies' favourites to win and all that before it. But there's been lots of times in the past where we haven't really hammered that home as well. And you got to think why we don't hammer it home, just because, you know, we ourselves are taking a step up when you go to play in the Champions League, and other Scottish clubs really struggle in Europe, generally speaking, as well. Back to Engels himself. I mean, what I really liked about the signing was, firstly, he was a regular in the Bundesliga, so he's still, you've got to feel, taking a step up in terms of clubs, because, you know, German football's brilliant, but you know, he's coming here, he's playing Champions League, he's coming to a team that's, you know, looking to win things. But he's had lots of experience, or not lots of experience, but he's had game time. You're not just signing a guy who just come out of the reserves and highly rated. Like, he's actually been proven that he can play at that Bundesliga level. And you could see when he's come in, obviously, and he's come into that environment, that he's just thriving under that environment. And some players can't really handle that at that age. Some players that would, you know, be a bit spooked, or they would go into their shell, or they wouldn't put in the performance level. But he seemed to really enjoy that, and that's one of the sort of key qualities. Again, Matt O'Reilly, we're talking about him all the time, but what was really good about him was he could go away and play at Ibrox. He could take a penalty, and he looked as if he was having a kick about in the park, right? He was like Panenka, you know, and he was composed. And I think in a way, Engels has got some of those natural abilities that, you know, some other players just don't really have. And like, what really struck me as well is he signed with us and he hadn't played with us yet, and he was in the full Belgium squad. And you think that's a real marker, you know, like he's actually rated in his own country as well. Because again, O'Reilly never got in the Euro squad, and a lot of the fans were disappointed with that. But he wasn't in the Denmark squad, whereas Engels was bang right in the main squad. Because I seen the thing coming up, and I was like, oh, it's good to get in the under 21s. Like, no, actually, that's the main squad. So you're dealing with somebody who's obviously a talent, and he's just turned, I think, 21, but he's a couple of years behind some of the players that we then sell on. And you talked about 2 years there, and I again don't want to get ahead of myself here, but see if he keeps playing like that. We're going to be sweating next summer, Quinny. I mean, let's face it. Like, if he keeps playing like that in the Champions League, aye.
We've got some big fixtures now. That's what I mean. Like, the Bratislava game is like, it's the beginning, isn't it? It's not like, you know, it's definitely something. And again, I was talking about this in my kind of reaction to the match, or whatever you want to think of it, because like, it is great, but we're going to get brought back to reality very quickly. The next 2 games we've got is Dortmund and Atalanta. And, you know, like, if we get anywhere near the level of performance we got against Bratislava, then Bratislava becomes highly relevant. But, you know, until we get to like playing Bruges, we play Bruges, Leipzig, and Zagreb, I think, is the next 3 after the hard 2, if you like.
Yeah, so it's Leipzig, Bruges at home, and then Zagreb away, I think.
Yeah. So I think by the time we finish Zagreb away, like in terms of a lot of the green shoots that we're seeing there now, because that's what they are, fantastic, very green, emerald green. We'll even distinguish them as, you know, shoots of like progress and development, even from the guys that have played now their 3rd Champions League campaign. For some of the players we've got in the squad, you really did feel that everyone did display themselves on the pitch in every way, shape, or form as a Champions League team, as a Champions League player. So it's great that we've started off this way, but like the context and the validity of it really does hinge on future results. Because if we, you know, if we get knocked out, ultimately, it was going to be absolutely hee-haw, you know.
I don't know about you, Quinny, but this is just my gut feeling, right? And I'm being honest, I've only had 1 beer, right? But I think that this season, the way we're playing, I know you've got the Magners, the way we're playing, the way we're performing, there's an air of a difference about the way we're playing. You know, for the back, Schmeichel looks solid, good on the ball. You know, you're not like, you know, previous Celtic goalkeepers. You get the ball, it's our. I remember way back to Rab Douglas, ball get crossed in. Like, he'll drop that rather than catching it. All that sort of stuff, right? You've got a top goalkeeper there. You've started in the league. You've been keeping clean sheets, so you know that there's a bit of confidence there. The midfield, obviously, Engels has been new, but Callum McGregor's on it. You know, end of the season, he was maybe struggling a bit with injury. He's on it. Hatate, people were sort of almost calling for him to be dropped. I couldn't really believe that. I don't, or you know, maybe saying that Bernardo was hard done by, but again, you've got Hatate, Bernardo, you've got Engels, and you've got McGregor in there, and Bernardo is actually hard done by because he was brilliant against Rangers. But you've got guys in there who are capable of coming in and starting, who are starters, and then the front 3 is absolutely electric. So I think what we need to be aiming to do now is we know that we're going to play against Dortmund. They're a top team. The Champions League final, but we want to go over there and cause them issues. We want to go over there and press. We want to go over there, counter attack. We want to go over there, maybe score a few goals or whatever. We want to give it a good go. We don't want to be going over there and getting humbled or turned over or whatever, or derailed. We want to go and keep doing those same things. And you just honestly, like, 3/4 of beer in, but the way we're playing makes you kind of dream about what we could actually achieve again, if that makes sense, because we're playing so well. And it's not just the fact that we're playing well, it's because we're so hard to actually play against as well. So that might translate a wee bit better to away performances than it has done in previous seasons where, you know, let's face it, like, we're away from home and it's never been a contest, right? That's the honest appraisal of it. So I'm quite excited. You know, I know that, you know, it's going to be really, really difficult games, but we put ourselves in a position where if we could sneak a point out of those 2 games, we're still going to be in the mixing pot. And I watched that Atalanta against Arsenal as well. And, you know, Arsenal are a real top level team at the moment. Like, they're so solid, like, and they've got loads of good options all across the board. But Atalanta gave them a very good game. So yeah, there's no illusions here, right? Atalanta are really good as well. So we've got a couple of tough games coming up, but if we can get through that still intact, then we're right in amongst it, and it's still kind of in our own hands to hopefully keep moving forward. So
yeah, big time. And I do think, like, as I kind of mentioned before, like going through all the fixtures, like we do have a great fixture list. Like, you know, there's not too many teams like us that have completely avoided playing one of the supposed like top. Like,
yeah,
let me see what the top 8 I predicted was, because that's like the guys that definitely qualify. Let me put this on screen. Dortmund is one of them. 2 seconds.
Yeah. You talk through that, Quinny. I just need to go for just 30 seconds, right? Yeah, maybe seconds.
Aye.
For that wee man shit.
Yeah. So with what is probably going to end up, and again, like I think PSG didn't make the top 8 in this prediction, so maybe you can swap PSG for Dortmund on traditional teams that smash other teams that don't have £100 million squads. But like we don't play Man City, we don't play Bayern Munich, Barcelona, Real Madrid, and our Arsenal, even and PSG, like I mentioned, aren't in this table. Can I change? I can. Fantastic. That's all the results. If anybody's cared for that, but I went to. There we go. Liverpool, you know, so like we've not drawn against so many teams like AC Milan. I know we've got Leipzig, Juventus. I think we've done really well out of our draw in that regard.
Yeah.
So,
I think it was definitely a favourable draw overall, wasn't it? Somebody put up a table and like I think actually fixture difficulty wise ours were kind of like the easiest fixtures for opponent ratings of like everybody in the Champions League.
Like this is everyone I've got to get eliminated. We're going to get more than 5 points, 7 points, I think.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, your battery's exhausted, Quinny.
I keep forgetting it's happened to me twice today when I did the deadline show as well. But I forgot
to. Well,
yeah, I've got like a wire to keep it plugged in so the battery doesn't like die on me. But I'll just put this wee camera 2 on. So yeah, man, hyped, buzzing. I think Engels is a big part of the reason that we can be this optimistic as well. I did have Sparta Prague down here with no wins, and they've already won the first match in Salzburg. So take this with a pinch of salt. Trying to predict like I can't remember how many matches it was, like 114 or something. It wasn't easy, and it's hard to do, but it just gives you maybe a general flavour of expectations and possibilities.
Yeah. I really like the format for that point of view. I feel as if like it gives you a chance because obviously the league table and you've got the top 8, and I think that they go into a sort of phase where they don't have to play in the playoffs. So there's like an extra round for the guys that are in the middle, and then you've got the elimination phase. But I think that seems pretty fair overall. I don't know what you think, but
yeah, I love it.
I think it's actually pretty good. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, you know, traditionally, like you've been used to the groups and everything, and those specific home and away games, but I don't mind that so much. I think maybe obviously because we've had a good draw as well. You know, there's like some even the big teams. I can't remember like PSG or something, and they just look at their fixtures and they go like, you know, they'll probably still qualify, but they're really hard. You know, like they don't have any real what you'd regard as easier games in those fixtures. But that's the luck of the draw, isn't it? And we've had enough bad draws or bad luck or bad decisions in Europe and everything. You take it while it comes, and we've got to capitalise on it. Again, don't take away for that result midweek. We might have been the favourites to win or whatever, but that's not the way football works out. And to go and put on that performance, send out that message. The next team that comes to Parkhead, they're going to be, you know, taking note of that. They're going to be looking at that and going, we're in for a right tough game here. And that's when you start actually becoming a bit more intimidating to play against and things. So I love to see that, the noise, the energy and everything. And it's all of Brendan's buzzwords on it: pace, physicality, and it's like Neil Lennon was even coming away with him, you know, thinking he's the manager again, coming away with all the buzzwords. But that's the stuff that we put in the performance. It was great.
I love a buzzword. I'm a sucker for it. I guess that kind of segues us through because it is Brendan's plan of design, as it were, to compete. He wants a treble. He's already said that already this year. He wants Champions League progression. He wanted that last year. We're probably getting it this year. And a treble includes not getting eliminated as early as we did last year. Last year it was against Kilmarnock. This year we've got Falkirk. Maybe it's slightly different proposition, but again, I don't think the form they've got, cup games, you just don't take it for granted. Don't think we will, and I don't think it'll bite us on the bum in any way. But as we look at the entire squad, right, so we've obviously got basically the 11 there, the 11 that started Wednesday night. How many changes do you think we see?
I think we should make at least a couple, to be honest. There's a lot of games coming up. So next weekend, I think we're St Johnstone away. Then we play Dortmund away on the Tuesday. I think you've got more of a sort of fixture pile up. There's more international breaks, which I know aren't Celtic games, but Celtic have got loads of international players. I think that's a good opportunity maybe to give some minutes to guys that haven't really played so much. So I'd like to see Trusty. I think, like, you know, he had a few games for Sheffield United, as far as I remember, but you know, it'd be good to incorporate him in some way, not because somebody else has been dropped, just to actually give him some minutes. It'd be good to see some minutes from Valley. I'm a wee bit surprised he's not had any minutes at all so far. I thought that maybe he would actually come on, maybe get the wee 15 minutes, 20 minutes at the end or whatever. Paulo Bernardo, I think would have to be a shoe-in to start. I mean, like, been really unlucky not to start the last game, etc. And then, you know, we've got guys there like, you know, maybe like McCowan, who's done pretty well when he's come on. James Forrest never let anybody down when he came on. Ida maybe could do a start, and then Palma's been searching for form after injury. So maybe one of those games where you say, look, guys like Dyson, you know, Kyogo or whatever, just, you know, just come for the bench. You know, you've still got them there if something happens and maybe it becomes a bit tight, because it's a cup tie, right? And I know it's against Falkirk and it's no disrespect to them, but you know, you can still have those guys on the bench and just, you know, manage the game time a wee bit. So I think you'll probably see maybe something in the region of 3 or 4 changes. I don't know. What do you think?
I think the whole back four could change, to be quite honest with you. I think he could play Batley, Trusty, Welsh, Ralston. I think he could do that quite easily. And the other areas, like, I think he kind of has to play Ida in this one, but I don't think Kyogo, Dyson, these guys want to miss a match. It's at the weekend as well. You know, they'll still be buzzing off a Wednesday night. They'll want to, you know, they'll definitely want to get their rocks off, as it were, come on the pitch and, you know, try and get another couple of goals and then maybe come off at half time or something. But I think I could certainly see the whole back four changing, and I think there's no reason to not rest Carter Vickers, who is somebody who we traditionally do need to manage his minutes. Alistair Johnson had that thing in international break, and then, you know, he could do with a weekend off, no problem with that. Trusty and Scales just makes, and Valley and Taylor, like, again, Taylor could, I know he didn't do any international travel or anything like that, so he's fine, but I think Taylor can happily forfeit the minutes to Valley in this case, you know, so we can try the guy out who's on loan with not an option to buy, but a minimum fee release that we could satisfy probably quite easily if we wanted them. So it would feel, I would probably be more surprised with less changes to the back four. Like, if there's only 1 or 2, like, I'll be really surprised at that. I would expect 3 or 4 changes to the defense. Goalkeeper as well, maybe. Goalkeeper probably, or maybe not. I don't know.
I suppose it's one of those, like, if you don't play him in this game, then when are you going to play him at all, type thing, you know. I mean, Kasper played 2 games for Denmark as well, so yeah, it's you know, we're playing well, so you want to disrupt the flow of that, but I think you've got to look ahead to all these games that are coming up and just be, like, you know, forward thinking. I get that the remit is to win things, so you've got to be competitive, but you've got all these guys here champing a bit for minutes, and also with all the games coming up and all the unexpected things that happen in football, you know, you don't want to get caught out as well. You don't want to, you know, something happens, somebody gets injured in training, and then you've got a guy just coming in on the cold that's just not really actually done anything at all. So we'll see. I don't know if it's Brendan's style to go like 7 or 8 changes. I don't know. We'll see what he does. But yeah, I mean, and Michelle's saying she'll be a bit disappointed if sort of seen certain players. But the other element of things is I'm quite excited to see what Valley and Trusty and guys like that are like as well. You know, it would be good to see how they perform and give them a chance to prove themselves as well.
Yeah, totally. I think, yeah, I could probably see Dyson starting, but just to, I say, just burn his energy. You know, he's got unlimited energy, so if he doesn't burn it off, then maybe that's, you know, maybe that's what makes Dyson go crazy. That's what not in a good way, you know. But no, I think that's a good thing you raised there as well. Like, is it his style? I'm not so sure. Again, when I look at this, I think McKeown for Hatate is a very easy one to do, but Hatate does better when he's getting regular reps. You know, he's in all the time. He's on. You know, he's getting regular minutes, regular contributions in that sense. So yeah, that is a funny one. I think yeah, the back four in Ida and McKeown are the ones I think are the. Yeah, I could see like 6 changes.
Yeah,
Kasper Schmeichel against his former club. Michelle saying his post is saying he's excited for it. So it's like one of his former teams. So yeah, he's playing. So that'll be cool for him.
I suppose. I mean, Sinisalo's just come in, and it's still pretty early days, and the remit is to try and learn from Schmeichel. I mean, I think you maybe need to view that as a more not long term, but thing that I don't think Schmeichel will just be here for a season. If there's some sort of like option to extend or whatever, I would be extending that just now. I'd be going in and saying, right, can we just extend that just now? Like, because he's been that good. So, and he was saying his objective was to play in the World Cup in 2020. Is it 2025 or 26? Can't remember. So he obviously wants to still be playing at that point. So I wouldn't really worry about him and Sinisalo so much. But yeah, I definitely think like Bernardo, for example, I'd like to see us just rest McGregor. You know, I know he's a captain, I know he's a driving force, but you know, he can still be part of it, and he can still be on the bench, and he can be there to come on. But you know, give guys like maybe Bernardo and McKeown the opportunity to stand up. Bernardo was great against Rangers. McKeown's a regular performer. I was a regular performer for Dundee, playing very well in the SPFL. So, you know, I don't think you need to be worried about putting guys like that in a game like this. I think you just got to take this chance to realise that there's going to be a lot of big games coming up, and just be a wee bit pragmatic about it, really. And you can leave all those other guys on the bench, knowing that if something happens and it's tight, then you can actually bring them on. So I'm with you now. I mean, I do think though, maybe 4 or 5 changes, something in that region we'll see. And then the guys who start that have been playing quite a lot, if we're winning by a few goals, could still come off at 50 or 60 minutes then.
Yeah. The 5 sub thing's definitely something to keep. Or is it 5 subs? Is it 3? I forget with the cup, but definitely think sometimes the cups are a wee bit funky in that sense. But yeah, I think like the back four is the main one for me, and then like Ida, it's kind of hard to imagine he didn't start this one. But again, you never know. And again, it's like your words from a few minutes ago. I just can't get them out of my head now. Is it Rodgers' style? Imagine he could easily just copy and paste from Wednesday. It wouldn't really be so if he did that, I wouldn't be too surprised. Versus like if he made like, you know, what I said before.
I suppose, and it is a quarter-final as well. You know, it's no disrespect to Falkirk or no disrespect to this competition or whatever, but you know, it is getting towards the latter stages. So it is what it is. Hail, hail! Who's the snitch? It's a great time to be a Celtic fan, isn't it? Oh, it's absolutely brilliant. Really is. We should do this on a Friday night more often. Quinny, we should do like a drunk one where we just promise to do at least a couple of hours, and we just have like 4 beers each and see if we can still talk at the end of it. That would be good fun. Although we'd probably get chucked off YouTube. I definitely would. I don't know about you, but
it's definitely something for an occasion, let's say. Yeah, I don't think my missus would let me away with that one, to be
honest. Under the thumb. Oh, there's Quinny's under the thumb.
That's me. I was going to say something else, which just totally fell out the back of my head there. It's on winning the cup and stuff like that. Oh, it's totally. It'll come back to me in a minute, perhaps. Oh yeah, sorry, I've just totally drawn a blank.
Michelle saying I'm crazy when I'm drunk.
Oh, that's what it was. Like that, you know, about being a great time to be a Celtic fan. Like it was great first time with Brendan as well, like trebles, invincible trebles, and everything that came along with it. But the one thing that was missing from Brendan's life, from our life, was points on the board at the Champions League, qualifying, getting past Christmas. We're kind of past Christmas by default anyway because of the fixture list, but qualifying beyond the base camp and getting to the next summit, getting to the next checkpoint on the mountaintop, as it, or the mountainside, on the way to the top, as it were. So it feels like it's kind of, if we can get that treble element back into the club, and that kind of, domestic, just unadulterated dominance, and we can marry up with not just that 3 points in the Champions League, a good group stage, good fixture list, but we actually spent 11 million on a midfielder. We spent 9 million on a striker. We spent 6 million on a centre back that's stuck to the bench like super glue. It's like all the things that were missing from before are kind of like, they're kind of there now. Like, at least right now. Let's see how it shakes out. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I get you. I think it was another thing that just came to my mind there as well. We're going a bit off tangent here, but remember we were talking before, we were talking about transfers and we're frustrated and, it's that, and everybody's like, we're going to make a lot of money, and the financial results come out and everything. We've got loads of money in the bank and nobody's complaining about it at all. And the reason for that is that, and even if maybe we'd bought, Engels and he looked a bit shite, and we'd sold Matt O'Reilly for the big money, and he's he looks a bit rubbish. But see, because of the way it started, now the results are coming out and they've been viewed as a positive, because what we've shown is that, okay, we will sell somebody for top dollar if the top dollar is available, but we'll still willing to commit a lot of money to the team. And you can see now with the money we're spending in the team that actually it's really paying off. I know Nicholas Kuhn wasn't a big signing or whatever. He was only a few million. But you've got to actually view that now as a good piece of recruitment, because he's proven everybody wrong. So everybody's going, no, this guy's rubbish. And, and like he didn't have a good start, but he's, over the summer is a good pre-season or whatever. And he looks like he's a top player. So yeah, I mean, I think that the recruitment's been viewed a totally different way to the way we were viewing it, particularly last week, the last week of the window, where everybody's like, come on here. And even Engels, I was at a party that night and I was at a few beers. And I was like, it's like 8:30, 9 o'clock, and he's still not been unveiled. So it was, it was right to the wire type stuff, but the positive thing, as you said, is we have spent money, and, with the big money we've spent looks as if it's been spent well, which is obviously a relief as well.
Big time. And I was just thinking there as you were talking, I wonder if, imagine we never got Schmeichel on a free. Imagine we had to spend the money on a goalkeeper. That must have made things a lot easier for the club as well, eh? Just get him on nothing, just give him Joe Hart's contract, basically change the name at the top, and just carry on as we were.
Brendan get his phone book out and it's like, Casper, we've been trying to sign like 20 goalkeepers here, and these guys here, they're making arse it, right? So, well, you just signed, like, but I remember when he signed as well. Okay, he was old, like same age as Joe Hart, but he played at Euros, right? He was at Euros with Denmark, so he's still playing at a good level at that stage, and he's proven really that he is a lot fitter than me and you at that age anyway, for sure. But he just looks at like a top level goalkeeper, to be honest. So
he's older than me.
And no offense, Quinny, but he doesn't look older than you. So I don't mean that in a bad way for you. I mean that more as a positive for Casper Schmeichel.
yeah, I'm with you, man. And the Luke McCowan one, Strangelove the Doctor, I think has definitely been on the same page as us for last season. Like every time we played Dundee, like we all could easily see McCowan would fit in at Celtic, and it's great to get that business done. If it felt like we weren't going to go for him, but then it felt like he was moving. And if it was like, if he's moving, he's coming to us, was kind of the way it went. So I do think that's, and it's a little bit of an easy thing to do to satisfy Rodgers as well, because when Rodgers says if O'Reilly leaves, we need 2 midfielders, bringing a guy like Luke McCowan into the club should be an easy win. It should be just like buying a Paul Hartley or a Barry Robson or a Mark Wilson. Like a guy that's like in the league, will not drop below like 6 out of 10, can give you a 7 or an 8 often enough, and is going to be buzzing to be playing for Celtic. So job done, like So yeah, I think it's great business.
Yeah, well, throwing our name in, we talked about him, like Lennon Miller, like, you know, he would be another obvious one. Maybe the way we're playing just now, or whatever, he wouldn't sort of break into a team, but there are players there, and I thought it was a really good bit of business. I mean, he wasn't expensive. He's proven himself in the league. And you don't have to be a Celtic fan to come, but it's really important that obviously he's quite excited to be here, and he's going to play his part in the squad. So he's not really going to be one of these guys who's going to come in and then, you know, in January, so I want away because I'm not playing, that type of stuff. So I thought it was a real clever signing, to be honest. And sometimes we turn our nose up at these guys and we think, oh, I would rather spend 3 or 4 million from some fancy name from abroad or whatever. But when people are playing consistently well in the league, that's a good option to have, because you would have no hesitation putting him in but it's still a big game. It's quarter final the weekend, so he's no hesitation putting him in, because you know that he'll perform. So yeah, it was a great signing when he did sign, and obviously everyone was happy because we're signing Engels and we're breaking a record and all that type of stuff. But everybody was pretty pleased he was signing as well. You know, it wasn't like, oh, we're signing this guy for Scotland and all. Everybody was pleased. And as you say, when we play against Dundee or played against Dundee, the game we had last season away from home, like, you know, they gave us a right good game. So, you know, there's definitely some value in that.
Yeah, that's good. And you know, it's definitely something that has always been important at Celtic, is that we do have that kind of core of guys that bleed green and white, you know, that really get the club in that sense. And although, like, we're quick to, you know, bring people into the family, as it were, you know, whenever people come to the club, they're very quickly like, oh, wow, this is everything and more than what people told me. But having people that come in and it's like, I'm fulfilling like a dream, you know, I'm fulfilling a lifelong ambition, especially from within Scottish football, because like guys that don't get picked up at a young age, don't get capped for the national team when they're young, don't have a big contract with fancy wages on it and all the rest of it, then like, did you see the story with, it was on Open Goal? I've not actually watched any Open Goal this year, but I managed to see like 3 or 4 other clips on Twitter that have been kind of interesting, but they did one with Trevor Carson, and it was talking about his sliding doors moment, how he was like close to signing for Celtic, and then like, did you see it?
No, I didn't see it. No.
So he said like he was like signing for Celtic, everything was ready to go, and then Joe Lewis got injured for Aberdeen, and then the guy that Motherwell were going to sign to replace Carson went to Aberdeen instead, and then Motherwell said, like the manager said, I'm quitting if you sell Carson now. So the board didn't sell him, and then we went and got Scott Bain. And it was, and it was like, I seen the post because someone had shared it with a picture of Scott Bain in the changing room wearing his mad casual clothes. Like obviously it's mad rich boy gear, too much money, just sitting on the bench and all that. And he's got his mad hat on, and it's like 5 Premiership trophies, cups and all that, and and everything. And like for players in Scotland to get approached by Celtic to sign for Celtic, like when they're not like 18, like a Lennon Miller perhaps, or like up and coming prospects where they have options or whatever, like the passion and like the buy-in that those players give is like a huge thing for like the team spirit, the team atmosphere. It's great that we've got that with academy guys like Forrest and McGregor and all the rest of it. But with a squad of 22, 23 people, like, you know, how many of them can you get into that squad that exude that, you know, like, and just breathe it in that way, the better, you know?
Yeah. No, I totally agree with you. And obviously, the problem with the academy just now is we seem to be producing players that are maybe not quite like so good that they'll just force their way into the team, but also guys who fancy themselves to go and play for Watford or go and play for, you know, somebody in Serie A or whatever, you know. So a lot of these guys are coming through and they're saying, well, I want to play football, and they're going and they're doing that. And again, for Lennon Miller, you know, if he doesn't come to Celtic or whatever, it'd be good to see him going playing, you know, in the Bundesliga or going playing in Italy or whatever, and going away and developing like some of the other players have done. But you're absolutely spot on. I mean, obviously you need the homegrown players for the overall rules as well. That's really important. Everybody laughs a bit about Scott Bain and Welsh and all that sort of stuff, but you've got to comply with the roster rules or whatever for the competitions. It's got to be done. And it does obviously encourage a bit of investment in guys who are coming through in your own country, which there should always be an aim to have that good sort of Scottish core at least in the squad, and then if we keep buying guys like Engels, well, if we could have another couple of guys like him, then that would be great. But it's turned out actually over the last couple of windows where we've been saying, well, actually we've had a couple of bad windows, but now that we're playing so well and we look as if we've spent this money well, it kind of looks as if the last two windows have actually been a lot more positive, and that's how quickly it turns around, obviously. So
yeah, I think so as well. And I think Miller comes to Celtic as well. There's no way we've not got our hooks into that situation by now, at least to like be constantly updated on any progress or any.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we would be the only team. So many teams around Europe that look for 16, 17-year-olds that break into first team football at domestic level. Can they hoover them up? So I definitely don't think we would sign them without a fight. It's a topic for another day, in a way. But I think the Luke McCowan business is like good because unlike Lennon Miller, who is under pressure to play, it's probably better he just plays at Motherwell this year anyway, like for his development and stuff. Someone in McCowan who has already developed, already knows who they are as a player. They've already got their, their habits, and they know what works for them, and they've shown it already in the league consistently enough. They've earned it, as it were. Then they're easier guys to bring into the fold, and you don't have then that pressure of like jeopardizing someone's career prospects of development by, not playing them in every league match and playing them against Falkirk and then against somebody, then you don't see them for 3 months, like we've seen with so many other players. But yeah, no, I love to see that because when you look across the team, like the best players we have, especially for the last couple of years, there's been a lot of players coming from Japan, of course, but across the whole team, there's a lot of players from lots of different countries. Obviously, Vickers and AJ, national-wise, are from North America. I think Vickers is like born and raised in London, but by all accounts, so the thing about growing as a team and being like a Champions League team and all that is you're buying these guys from all around the world, but you need to keep that thread, that kind of texture of the club on the pitch, because that is the X factor for us, is at home with the fans, with the hoops, under the floodlights, like the whole setting and the meaning of it because of the history of the club. And to really maximize that, you need people that vibrate it, as it were. So I think it's great business. Not to get too over the top about it, but he's a guy that, like Forrest, like Ralston, like so many others, like if he plays for no one else but Celtic for the rest of his career, like he'll be a good servant for us, when we need him, for however often that may be,
Yeah.
So I like it.
Yeah, I think the other thing as well is that, like, when you see, obviously, and I keep talking about Matt O'Reilly, right? But we've made a peace with it now. But when you see somebody like that coming in, then going for a big move, and also developing under Rodgers, then guys like Luke McCowan will be buzzing to come and play under Brendan Rodgers as well. So, okay, he might not be playing every week, but that doesn't mean that he's not going to actually learn or develop in that environment where he's winning things. He's got the mentality. He's playing under a top manager. And just looking at the squad in general, I was just thinking in my mind there, like thinking about the general strength of the squad. And like Paulo Bernardo was really good against Rangers. He scored for Portugal under 21s during the break, and he's a Portuguese under 21 captain. He can't get in the team at the moment. So that just shows you how strong that sort of midfield three is, because, Hatate's, like, he showed that assist to Maeda was just, that's something that the other midfielders can't really do, the way he takes the ball in and he moves the ball quickly and, that type of thing. So there's a lot of talent in that squad, but you've got the Denmark goalie, you've got Alistair Johnson, team of the Copa America was in that team. You've got Carter Vickers, Scaldini, as you call him, Greg Taylor has his detractors, but he started the season really, really well. Engels we've talked about. Callum McGregor, everybody's gutted he's not playing for Scotland now. A lot of people quite disappointed by that. And then you've got Maeda. You're not going to say he's the best left winger in European football, but he's the best presser in European football. So he does something that other players just don't really do. And, there's kind of that sort of overall uniqueness about the squad, but it's high level, full of international players and everything, and that's where we want to be, really.
Yeah, Totally, man. And I think, like I said that on my reaction to the game against Bratislava, but that's hopefully a big part of what we buy. Like, so our academy isn't producing this level of player at the moment. I actually managed to watch Celtic B versus Bratislava B, and I'll be going to more of the Youth Champions League games again for Celtic here. I managed to do that last season, which was great. I think, did I go the season before? It's my memory's escaping me at the moment. But the B team this year, actually, side note, looks a lot. I know again it was against Bratislava B, but some of the guys that played in that game played in the group stage last year. That's the only time I've ever seen the B team is these Champions League games, and the guys that were still there in the team, they were way better. You know, like in a good way. Like they kind of like grown up a bit as well over. I don't know what ages they all are, but maybe one guy's went from being 17 to 18 and 18 to 19 or whatever. I don't know, but physically a few of them had kicked on. And it was interesting to see. But because our academy isn't producing these players, or if they are, some of them have been getting snipped off of, as we know, and let's see how they actually shape out in the fullness of time. But we need to then buy that level of talent at a young age, like Nicholas Kuhn, who's been around Ajax and Munich and all these other places before it comes to us. Engels, who comes through at Bruges, one of the biggest teams in Belgium, gets capped for Belgium all the way through their youth ranks, of course, very successful club at bringing through players over the last 20 years, 15 years, whatever you could say. What you're expecting out of them is that sort of performance that we've seen on Wednesday, you know, where like it's high energy, it's accurate. And what I mean by accurate is like they don't like waste the ball or anything like that. One of the biggest problems we've seen with some Celtic players, we won't go into names or anything at this point, present squad and previous, is that they can shell a ball over the bar from anywhere. They can, and that Maeda's maybe a bad culprit for this right now in terms of crossing the ball and it goes to nobody, you know. But those two, because of that like elite education that they've had in terms of like drilling and the, you know, the standard of coming through these academies and playing for these youth national teams is so high that like they just waste nothing. You know, they always do the best thing for the team. And I don't know how I kind of got into talking about that. I'm terribly sorry where I started with this, but it's definitely a thing I love about bringing in guys like Engels and Kuhn and even Bernardo as well. Because again, the Benfica Academy in the Portugal you've set up is like very demanding and very exacting on like, this is what you need to deliver when you're on the pitch, you know, like, and having that kind of like base level, high level IQ and ability, like now kind of really getting around the squad. The bench is strong. The best 11 is strong. We could rotate. We're talking now, worst case scenario, if that's what I call it, putting air quotes, whatever. There could be 8 rotations, let us say. And I would fancy that team to take on Bratislava. Maybe it wouldn't be 5-1, but, you know, we'd probably still beat them, I think.
Yeah. Bernardo and, you know, guys like that started trusty. I think we'd probably still beat Bratislava. Like, Mr. Christie. And I spend all my time defending Maeda because we know his qualities and everybody loves him. But also, I think he plays a wee bit out of position for us as well. You've seen that game where he played through the middle where that suited him a bit better. So, all right, he goes down in the left wing and he hits the ball and you think if you're in Rose Edge, you're in trouble. But like he does so many good things and so many good things that don't always translate into, you know, the headline setting things. You know, Kuno got a lot of praise for getting the goals and the assists. But, you know, by the time Maeda comes off the pitch and the subs come on or whatever, you know, the opposition's knackered because he just terrorised them for like 60 or 70 minutes, sometimes longer. You know, I think he stayed on for pretty much all the game midweek. So, you know, and even last season, thinking back to it, he was out with like a season-ending injury and he came back and recovered like some sort of cyborg or whatever and terrorised everybody for the last 4 or 5 games, played his part. So he's unbelievable and we should appreciate having him rather than thinking about those things where he shows that kind of, because he's not like a winger, right? He's not a guy who's going to be dead tricky or he's going to shift the ball on his left foot and bend the ball in like Beckham. He's that's not the type of player he is. But like now looking at the system we're playing in and how exciting it is, you can see that you're starting to get a lot of the best things out of him, and it's going to be quite interesting to see those away games, to see how we shape up and how we can make the best use of that sort of transition, counter-attacking pace and everything. It's going to be fun. We'll still find it hard, I'm sure, but you know, at least we're getting into it with confidence that we'll give it our best. So
yeah. Fingers crossed for the rest of it to come. I think it was Michelle. Someone asked me if I'm going to the game this weekend. Sadly, I am not. This is not a game I'm on the list for, sadly. But are you going to the game, McBride? Probably not. No.
No, I'm not going to the game either. Actually, I'm going away next week for a couple of days, so I'll need to get myself organised. But I
getting that super yacht out the port.
No, don't own one yet. But I mean, that's not a real positive just now as well. It's dead hard to get tickets for anything at the moment, like not just Champions League and everything.
Yeah.
I tried to sort of pick up one for Hearts and things, and it was nearly impossible. But that just shows you the overall, just everything that's going on around about the club. You could fill the stadium twice over for some of the games, which is amazing. So, but not surprising either, the way the success we've got and what we've been doing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if I would do a score prediction for a cup game because they're just so sketchy.
Yeah.
I think we got quite a formidable result against somebody last season with rotations. I remember Wata playing. I can't remember who we actually played in that match, but maybe like a 5-0 or something. Not to write anyone off or anything, but again, if we're playing Ida and say like Kyogo, like he's going to be like you mentioned Forest earlier. Forest pass, Ida's finish, like is maybe one of my favourite goals from Wednesday night. Like, the other ones were way better because it was just like winning the game, taking the lead, putting it to bed, But that goal was like beautiful, like laser focused pass from Forest through 3 players, and then Ida, is it his first touch? Just like puts it in the spot, keeper can't get it, and it's home before he's celebrating as soon as it leaves his foot. Basically, he's just done it,
Yeah.
So I think I'll go with 5-0. I'll go with 5-0.
I was thinking 5 or 6. I think Falkirk. We won't want to completely underestimate them. I would go like 1-5-1 midweek. I'll go 6-1. I do think I just think that the way we're playing and everything just now, like I'm sure Falkirk will do their best to make it difficult, but we're bringing in guys who are still pretty high level. So I think we'll still capitalise and there'll be a good buzz about the place, and we'll still score a lot of goals. So go for 6-1.
I hope Casper wants the clean sheet out of Falkirk, to be honest with you. I hope it's we get a V0 on the end of it, especially if he's playing.
If he plays, I mean, I don't know.
Do you think he takes a penalty?
You never know, yeah. You never know. But I just it's getting back to this, like, at some point you've got to give Sinisal a game of some description. So I know it's quarter-final, but if you don't play him this weekend, then you're just not really playing him at all. Unless it's maybe when the league's won by 20 points or whatever. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, Quinny,
Not yet. One game at a time. That's the mantra at Parkhead. That's the mantra on Celtic here. One game at a time.
One game at a time. Let's not
with often tangents and then staring down the horizon as we end up talking about the tangents. But yeah, look forward to it. Michelle and everyone else that's going to the game, travel safe. I hope you have a good time. And we'll be back next week to preview St Johnstone we've got coming back, and then we'll be leading into Borussia Dortmund and all that good stuff as well. Transfer window's closed, so the madness season is kind of over. It's a wee bit more controlled and focused. There will be a video out on the channel. I did go to the Bratislava game and did like a kind of like a match report for it. I got to interview McManus at the end, which was quality as well, who was definitely one of the players when I was growing up that I always loved seeing do well for Celtic, because it's one of those things that, like, I wasn't a great football player. Like, I played football, right? But like, I wasn't getting scouted by MD. Let's put it like that. And when you see guys that play for Celtic and are obviously good, but everyone gives them shit for when they break through, I always kind of like to see those guys kick on a little bit more. So getting to chat to him and ask him some questions and all that was quite good. So it's a guy I used to always kind of stick up for with my mates and stuff like that. I feel like is like, again, some of the stuff we're talking about tonight, like, he came through the academy and he like knows the club and all that. And I thought Big Mick was a good servant for us. Anyway, that's by the by. That'll be out on the channel. It was a good game, actually. I'm way more excited about the B team now than I was this time last year in terms of who's in it and how they were looking and stuff like that. And there'll be lots of other content out on the channel over the next few days. So stay tuned, hit subscribe, hit the notifications bell, hit the like button. get into the comment section if you're watching this after we've been live, and let us know what me and McBride have got wrong and what we should be doing better at, or whatever.
Hail, hail. That's when we need to get better at. We need to get more beers.
More beers. You're done your glass. I've basically finished my can. More the hoops.
Hail, hail. Have a nice one. Good night.
Yeah, that's it.
All done.